Okay, we're live again. Can you check if it's come through? It's watching, it's working now. Okay, I do apologise, guys, those that have just joined. Oh, it is working. It's good. Yeah, for whatever reason, I had a massive technical drama. So I advertised this live stream, did a thumbnail, did loads of links to it and everything from loads of different places to hopefully get as many of you watching as possible right now, and none of it worked. So a bit disappointing, but those that are watching right now, thank you so much. I'd really appreciate it. And thank you for your patience in this technologically marvellous world. And sometimes it doesn't go 100% to plan. So here we are. So this is largely a Q&A and also an opportunity just to hang out, chat amongst yourselves in the live chat. Thank you so much to the moderators who manage the live chat for any trolls, etc. I hope everyone's well. We're still going through this crazy time, and I hope you're coping well with it. People that live on their own, maybe a bit lonely, and people that might even be unhealthy. The key workers, I think we're all in it together. And from my personal point of view, coming from an aquascaping perspective, which is my passion and why I'm here, I think it offers an opportunity to connect with nature a bit more through your aquascapes. A lot of us are on lockdown, can't go outside to see nature so much. So hopefully we can enjoy it by looking at our planted aquariums or aquascapes at home. And I've done that a lot. The last week has been very busy for me. I'm very grateful to have the ability to work from home. And I do a lot of work for Tropica, Awase, obviously YouTube. I'm still finishing off my book, so writing as well. So my days are actually pretty full up, but I 100% sort of empathise with folk that normally work outside of home and then they have to be at home. This is obviously going to be quite challenging for a lot of people. So I hope everyone's well, and if you do have a planted aquarium or an aquascape at home, then please do use that, hopefully as a tool to help you and to relieve any boredom. If you live on your own in particular, then maybe use the technology to your advantage. Instagram, Facebook groups, maybe even start your own Instagram channel, tell everyone about your aquarium, or just do something to involve the whole kind of community, because at this time I think it's really important that everyone kind of comes together and helps each other out, basically. Okay, so let's dive on over to the Q&As. Do consider dropping a super chat if you definitely want your question answered. It just highlights it for me in the area. So hi everyone, thanks so much for joining. Lizzie on the moderating team. I know Radu's probably here as well, so appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Cool, right, okay, let's jump on over to some Q&As. Let me just get a quick sip of my hot chocolate. Okay, here's a good one. Toby creates, any tips on transitioning new plants? So this is quite a deep topic, actually. So a new plant can either be grown out of water, which we call immersed form, or grown underwater, which is submerged form. And how it transitions, the transition is normally spoken about in terms of transitioning from out of water to underwater growth. I guess this is what you mean. Top tips are make sure the plant is as healthy as it can be to start with. So buy the freshest plants that you can. I speak about this a lot in my videos, but have a chat with the staff in your store. Find out when they get their next shipment of plants in, or if it's an online retailer, give them a call or an email and say, you know, can you send me, when you get your next shipment, send me the freshest species of this, and that will give you the best start, because the plant is healthy, it's got a good nutrient store in there, and it's wanting to grow, rather than if it's kind of halfway, you know, dying, then you're really going to struggle to bring it back to health. So that's the number one tip, is to buy the healthiest plant you can to start with. And then other than that, just give it what it needs. So if it's a demanding plant, it will need more light and CO2 and nutrition. If it's an easy plant, then not so important. But just make sure you give it what it needs. So do a bit of research on that plant species. So if it's, I don't know, something like Hemianthus calitricoides cuba, which is a relatively difficult carpeting plant, then you'll need potentially more light and CO2. But if it's something like Anubias, then you can almost just put it in any tank and it should be fine over some time. An interesting thing is when you buy tissue culture plants. My favourite are the Tropica 1-2 Grow. These are grown in a liquid or a gel, and most of the time now it's a liquid with a Tropica. And this means the plant is already adapted to growing underwater, so it doesn't have to go through so much of a transition. It doesn't have to use so much energy to make that transition, so it can use that energy to grow. And this is why the 1-2 Grow plants just grow really quickly to start with. So consider getting the Tropica 1-2 Grow if those are available to you. And the kind of the least commonly available plants really in the UK and Europe are plants that are potted plants that have been grown underwater for a large amount of time, so they're fully adapted already to the submerged growth. Now at first a lot of people assume that this is the best way to go because it's already adapted, but actually depending on the conditions it's been grown in to start with, if it's like a really acidic soft water system and you've got a hard water system, that plant's going to really struggle to adapt more than buying an emerged out of water form. So the good thing about the emerged forms, the ones that have been grown out of water hydroponically in the nurseries, is actually they're very robust and they're very adaptable. So if I've got a pH of 6 and Joe Bloggs has got a pH of 8, but we both buy exactly the same plant from the nursery, it's been grown out of the water, that plant is going to adapt better to either of our water. Whereas if I bought that plant readily, you know, it was grown in pH 8 and I put it into my tank of pH 6, it's probably going to melt right back straight away. So a long answer there, but it's a good question. Thank you so much, Toby. I appreciate it. Okay, no change for me. Work in essential services, says Mr. B. Yeah, we appreciate, I certainly appreciate everyone that's doing the essential services while everyone else is at home. You know, you guys are more at risk to catching this thing, so we appreciate your work to keep the countries, wherever you are, moving along and operating. So massively grateful to you guys. Thank you. Okay, we've got some super chats. Let me just, MD's dropped a couple of super chats. Oh, thank you very much. £5 and a £5. Thanks for everything. You're welcome, mate. I appreciate that. For those that don't know MD, most of you do now. I think, are you at 100,000 subscribers yet? He'll be overtaking me in 6 months or so, maybe even less. So yeah, really great channel, very entertaining and accessible, and a really great sort of storytelling about how to scape on a budget. A lot of non-CO2, no filter, you know, real quite basic setups, but still really beautiful. So check out MD's channel if you've not seen it yet. Okay, Josh ATX. Hi Josh, thanks for the question. I have a freshwater refugium on the back of my Fluval Flex 15 gallon. What are the best plants for refugiums? That's a really great question. First of all, thanks for the super chat, and actually it's really interesting that you were mentioning a refugium or a refugium. Let me explain to the viewers that don't know what that is. It's basically an external aquarium or something small, a container that contains separately plants that are going out of water to export nutrients. So in your case, Josh, you've got on the back of your Fluval Flex, I guess you've got like some sort of container with water flowing in and out and the plants growing out. Now the plants that I would choose are plants that well, you can go for two types. You can go for like a generic kind of house plant, which doesn't mind being a little bit wet. So obviously its roots are going to be completely submerged in the water. So plants like Pothos are very popular, philodendron species. So that's Pothos, which is the common name, or philodendron. If anyone watching it knows how to spell philodendron, write it down now for me. These are very good. These kind of creep along, and you can actually have them growing. You know, I interviewed Ty Strikeman recently, and he had his growing all over, and it looks really beautiful. It just adds another slice of nature to your home. So I would go for some Pothos potentially. And then in terms of if you wanted to use aquatic plants, I would buy plants that are bought straight from the nursery, so they're grown out of water. And then I'd buy sort of really robust stem plants like Hygrophila, Siamensis maybe. I'm trying to think of some others that grow really well out of water. Some Ludwigias, maybe some Rotalas. Basically stem plants with quite robust a stem, which will happily support their own weight in the air. Okay, we've got another super chat. Thank you so much to the Fishy Mailman. From an American veteran, thank you for your service, George. Finally got to catch you live. I'm trying to flower Rotala colorata outside in a pond. Any tips? Well, firstly, thank you so much, the Fishy Mailman, for your super chat. I am a military veteran as well. I don't talk about it very much. I try to talk about aquascaping a bit more. But anyone that wants to know my kind of history, there is a video actually. I released it just as I got 100,000 subscribers. It was all about my story, about how I made the transition from military to full-time aquascaper. So check that out if you're interested. I do get quite a lot of questions about how to become a full-time aquascaper. So do check out that video. If one of the moderators want to link to that, then please do so. So sorry, the question. I'm trying to flower Rotala colorata outside in a pond. I've got to put my hands up and say I've never grown any plants in a pond before, so I can't give you, super beneficial experience. But what I will say is it might be seasonal flowering, but I think Rotala is almost like a weed, so it should just flower at any time. I guess it depends on temperature, nutrient levels, lighting. Being outside, I'm not sure how much control you have over those things. So unfortunately, I can't really give you any advice, but maybe try to give it as much light as you can. Other than that, I'm sorry, I really don't know. Please, anyone that's watching that knows about flowering stem plants in a pond, then jump in on the chat and let the Fishy Mailman know. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. More vids, $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Do you recommend altering the photo period while cycling a planted tank with CO2? I'll be planting a mix of stems and tissue cultures. I don't recommend altering the photo period really. I often start with 8 hours and then just keep it 8 hours for the whole life of the aquascape, just because I like to keep it stable. Sometimes I'll start with a 6-hour photo period and then build up to 8, but certainly don't mix it once everything's kind of settled in. So if you did want to alter it, start with 6 for the first 4 weeks, ramp it up gradually to 8. You shouldn't need to go more than 8 if you've got good levels of lighting, and that's my personal experience. Good luck with it, and thank you so much for the super chat, Morvids. We've got a 200, I'm not sure what the currency is, I do apologise, but thank you very much for the super chat. This is Varshil MVH Pets. Hi, I'm a big fan. By the way, any suggestions on hardy plants that grow big, as I'm making a 1,000-litre planted aquascape and filming the process on my channel. That sounds really exciting. I'll try to make sure I subscribe to your channel and check that out. 1,000-litre aquascape. Wow, that's pretty big. Hardy plants that grow big. Java fern. You can buy, I don't know where you live, unfortunately, but you can buy mother plants. You can buy plants that are huge right away. So this is what I would do. I can only speak from my experience with Tropica, but they produce a separate kind of product group called XL plants, mother plants. These have been grown in for longer in the nursery, and there's a selection of probably a dozen or so species. I would look at something similar if you can get Tropica in your country, or if not, look at something similar. But Java ferns, it depends on the system, depends on your lighting and nutrients, etc. But Java fern will grow in almost any system. Anubias, the same. Some Cryptocorone balansae will get very tall. Things like jungle vallis, like giant vallisneria, these are a popular choice. These get really tall and can take over an aquarium quite quickly. So bear that in mind if you don't want to do so much maintenance. But a lot of it does depend on your system, how much light, how much nutrients, and the kind of technology behind the system. But I would definitely go for large epiphyte plants. 1,000-litre aquarium is quite big. And the great thing about epiphyte plants, these are plants that attach to your hardscape, your wood or your rocks, as they add instant impact. So if you can get a large Java fern, large Anubias, large Bucophalandra, maybe Bulbitis is another great epiphyte. Attach these to your hardscape, you're going to get instant impact, and you'll get a really nice kind of mature look straight away. So that'd be my advice. Buy the biggest sort of epiphyte plants that you can. Thank you very much. Good. Right, let me go down to another question. God, there's loads. 257 of you watching. Wow, that's amazing. If you're enjoying the stream, hit the thumbs up. It's really appreciated. Thank you so much. Planted tanks. Hi George, can Bucophalandra be trimmed all the way back to its rhizome? If it's healthy, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. If it's because you've got really bad algae or the leaves aren't healthy, then you need to really look at the reason behind that. Otherwise, when you get the new growth, that's just going to suffer from the same issues potentially. So look at why you want to do that in the first place. But if it's a healthy specimen to start with, then absolutely the rhizome will grow new healthy leaves. Spencer Bray's in the house. TDS of my water, I think it's about 400. It's hard. It is on the hard side, and that's why I tend to choose easy plants. It looks okay though, doesn't it? I can't show you right now, but I did have loads and loads of pots, all the plants in their pots in here temporarily, because I'm doing two new aquascapes soon. So this was covered in random potted plants, and I've just taken them out, made sure it was looking good for the live stream. But yeah, I'm quite happy with it. Okay, people talk, sweet mug. Yeah, it's from my daughter Florence. I doubt she's watching. She's far too cool to watch her dad on YouTube now. But this was a Father's Day present from a few years ago. It's my favourite mug. It's my favourite because it's a dad mug, but also because it's the biggest. Okay, let me look at some more questions. Shrimper Links, George, have you any knowledge of peat pellets in filters? I have actually used them. When I first started the hobby, I had hard water in my old home, and I did just some research, and I figured out that you could use peat to reduce the hardness in your tank, and you could buy these. I think even Fluval did them. They did these like peat granules that you could buy in a sachet, and you put them in your tank, and it did reduce the hardness slightly. So it is something that you can do. The only thing with anything like this is it's almost a temporary measure. The peat's only going to last so long. So if you really want to reduce the hardness of your water long term and have control over that, then the only really way you can do that is with reverse osmosis water. So consider that if you want to stick to a very specific TDS or conductivity. For instance, if you're breeding shrimp, like Caridina species in particular, like the water quite soft, like a very, very low KH, and a very stable pH, and then high oxygen, a little bit lower temperature than normal tropical. Anyway, I'm digressing. But yeah, if you really want to have control over the hardness of your water, then reverse osmosis. But you could try the peat out. The only thing with peat now, peat itself is quite you have to make sure it's kind of obtained from a sustainable source, because a lot of it's sort of taken away from nature now and they're kind of running out a bit. So I try to avoid it if I were you. If you really wanted to, like I say, use reverse osmosis, or even rainwater. This is another tip. You can like filter that through carbon to make sure any impurities are taken away, and you can use the rainwater to soften your water as well. Oh, we've got another super chat. Thank you so much to James Dyer. I recognise that name from, I think we're friends on Facebook maybe. I've just spotted BB-8 on my driftwood. What would you do? I run around crazy with my I've got BB-8. No, BB-8 is almost inevitable in a planted tank for almost any aquascaper or planted aquarium keeper. It's just one of those types of algae which almost everyone suffers from at some point. It does tend to start off on wood more than other materials. I think as the wood kind of slowly decomposes in the aquarium, it leaches organics, and these tend to attract algae and clearly in some cases BBA. So what would I do? I would look at the root cause to start with, as always with addressing any type of algae. Loads of different root causes, but mainly it's attributed to fluctuating CO2 levels. So if you are injecting CO2, just make sure that is at a good level and stable all the way through the photo period. And in my experience, the biggest kind of trigger is an excess accumulation of organic waste. So this can be a result of not cleaning your filter enough, your soil or your substrate just becoming clogged up with loads of fish waste and plant waste, etc. Don't forget that plants produce waste as well as fish, so it's important to maintain your soil substrates, or any substrate. You can't obviously vacuum it like you do with a regular substrate, you know, like a gravel or a sand, but you can like wave your hand just above it and siphon out at the same time. Some of you may have seen my quite in-depth video on water changes. I do big water changes, and I show you how I do it really using a really easy method. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But what I have is like an external filter inlet, hangs over the side of the aquarium. The inlet is towards the bottom of the aquarium, and then I'll literally wave my hand next to the inlet as that water is siphoning out. With every water change, and this just avoids this accumulation of waste organics that can occur and can lead ultimately to problem algae, especially BBA. So there are other options. You can spot dose it with hydrogen peroxide or glutathaldehyde product like Flourish XL or Easy Carbo, or any kind of liquid carbon product. I would personally avoid to do that if you can. I try not to use any chemicals if possible in my aquariums. I just add liquid fertilizer and a bit of tender loving care. Okay, we've got another super chat. This is very generous, everyone. Thank you so much. Janine the Fish Herd. Can you do a scape off with MD fish tanks, preferably live, so we can interact? I'm very open-minded. I'm very flexible. I guess the big thing is obviously with the current situation with lockdown, that's not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, open to ideas. Me and Mark are in regular dialogue, so I'm sure something will come up in the future at some point, so keep your eyes peeled. Thank you for the super chat, Janine, I really appreciate it. Okay, questions. Candy's online and she's dropping the links to the videos I mentioned. Thank you so much, Candy, you're such a legend. Spencer Bray, would you do a live chat with Great Northern Scapes? Nah, don't like him. That's a joke. That's Spencer, for those that don't know. Yeah, shout out to Great Northern Scapes on Instagram. Really great guy. I won't go through the whole story because last time I went through the story I nearly started crying live on YouTube. So, but check him out, Great Northern Scapes on Instagram. Let's go live at some point together, Spencer. That would be awesome. I know you've been doing stuff with Amateur Aquatics as well. He's a super cool guy from Budapest. Peter Roscoe, a very funny guy, ex-military as well. But yeah, let's do it. Just drop me a DM, mate, on Instagram, and we'll get in touch and sort something out. Maybe I'm pretty maxed out next week, but maybe the following week or something. But we'll sort something out. Okay, this is a good question. Felix Ferdinand. Hi George, I want to know how to get rid of green dust algae on the glass. This is a really common problem in planted tanks for most people at some point. You get this, you look down the side of the glass like I am right now, and you can see this green dust kind of algae building up quite quickly. It starts to kind of, block the view, and it's not very nice to look at. Now, I actually got this tip recently from Yuri's. Yuri's is the Tropica social media manager. We've been doing loads of Instagram lives recently on their Instagram. And he came up with this really top tip. Well, I knew the tip, but I didn't know why it worked. So I'll explain. Let the green dust algae build up for at least 3 weeks. It's a long time, and you'll hate it because you won't be able to see into your aquarium, basically. But just let it build up and build up and build up. Don't touch it. And then after 3 weeks minimum, clean it all off and then do a huge water change, and then it shouldn't come back again. Now, I read this years ago. I think I was on the forums 10 years ago plus, and I read this over and over again. Luckily, I've never had it bad enough to really worry about it, but I read about this and I was like, that's really weird. I wonder why that works. And then I found out the other day from Yuri's that it's something to do with the life cycle of the algae. Once it's just young, it's just started, and you just start to see that green dust building up. People clean it off right away because they don't like to see it. But it's still really young, and apparently it's still really kind of virile. It still really wants to get going. So you'll scrape it off, it'll float around the tank, and then it'll reattach itself. And that's why it doesn't go away. It just keeps coming back over and over again. So if you let it mature for 3 weeks minimum, what it does, it goes through like its full life cycle. And then once you clean it off, it doesn't have that ability to reattach itself, and therefore it goes away. So top tip for you. You're welcome. Okay, Johnny, do you dose the recommended amount of Tropica Ferts or overdose? If so, by how much? Johnny, check out I did do a very comprehensive video on how I dose my liquid fertilizers. So Candy, you're a legend on this sort of thing. Drop the link for Johnny. But basically, I use the estimative index principle, which is deliberately overdosing every day, changing loads of water every week to reset the nutrient levels, and just keep doing that to keep the plants really well fed. Always better to overfeed the plants than underfeed the plants. The planted tank, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. The planted tank, that's really appreciated. Great question. How do you cycle your tanks? I personally let the plants do it for me and add my fish the same day as setup. Never had an issue. Absolutely. If that works for you, that is fantastic, and no one can argue with what works. I actually normally wait a couple of weeks, not necessarily because I'm worried about the fish suffering, but actually I like to watch the plants grow in, and I just like to see everything a bit more mature before I add the fish. And it also gives me thinking time about what fish to add for the aesthetic value. So, you know, aquascaping for me is all about the visual as well as the techniques about growing the plants. And for me, I really like to give a lot of thought and care and attention into what fish I choose for the aquascape. And often I'll kind of change my mind. So I'm very much like you though. I don't cycle the tank in an old school or fishless cycling kind of way. I don't add any, generally don't add any bacteria. What I will say is with my cichlid tank, I did add them from day one, and I added a bacteria product. At the moment, I'm using Fritz. I can't remember the name of the product. Someone let me know in the comments if you know. I think it's called Fritz 360 Organic Waste Remover. So I use that every week on my cichlid tank. That helps to boost the nitrogen cycle, because it's quite a heavily stocked tank as well. So I don't use any bacteria products generally in my planted aquariums, but in my cichlid tank I definitely will use extra bacteria just to help keep things higher water quality, because there's no plants to look after the water like there are in here. Okay, thank you again for the super chat, the planted tank, very grateful. This is a great question from Mark Dorr. Shout out to Mark, another really great aquascaper from the UK. Thanks Candy for the link to the Fritz product. Fritz do support my channel, and just a quick shout out to Fritz because they run Aquashella, which is a great consumer event over in the States. It's in Dallas, and where's the other place? Dallas. Oh my God, Brian's gone blank. That's embarrassing. It'll come to me. Anyone know? Dallas, and there's another place that they do it. Can't believe I've forgotten. Oh, Pardeep has just dropped a super chat. George, please give the pearls a nesting area. What do you suggest, Pardeep? Let me know. So, question from Mark. You've been to most stores in the UK. I'd like to take time off to visit a few. What would you say are the top? Well, if you're an aquascaper, let's do it from 2 points of view. An aquascaper's point of view and a pure fish point of view. The best aquascaping stores, I would say, at the moment in the UK are Aquarium Gardens. He happens to be 3 kilometres or 2 miles from my house. And Scape Nature. And then you've got, at the moment, you've got quite a few. You've got Crowder's Aquatics are very good. You've got Fish Cove Aquatics. You've got Horizon Aquatics and Riverwood Aquatics as well. So these are all ones I consider visiting. In terms of the amount of good displays, Aquarium Gardens has the most full-on aquascapes. Scape Nature has lots of displays, terrariums and kind of other interior kind of nature style stuff. They've all got good displays, don't get me wrong, but in terms of the quantity, I would say Aquarium Gardens and Scape Nature. I hope I haven't made anyone cross from not mentioning their store. I do apologise. In terms of fish stores, one of the top in England is Wharf Aquatics, I would say. Very, very good in Nottinghamshire. And then you have Pier Aquatics in Wigan. The northwest is very strong for fish shops. They're very soft water up there. They tend to be able to keep the more delicate kind of, especially, sort of more specialised fish up there. At the Abyss Aquatic Warehouse is very big, got a good marine presence as well. And then actually, if and when you can get over there to Ireland, Seahorse Aquarium'z, amazing. And they do all the genres of fish keeping, reef, discus, aquascaping, cichlids, goldfish, everything. And the owner, the manager, I'm not sure if he's the owner, Keelan. He is like a marine biologist, I think, and they've even got their own lab with microscopes, and they do like fish disease diagnosis, and they're really, really good guys as well. But we're very lucky in the UK. There are some amazing fish stores, and even the well-known chain stores. There's some really high quality stores there with really great managers that take the hobby and the customers really seriously. So yeah, we're very lucky in the UK. I don't know if anyone else is in the UK. Just drop a few recommendations down in the comments as well if I've missed any. Those are questions, guys, on Sport for Choice. We've got another super chat. Thank you, GG Jackson. Let me know where you're from, GG. This currency, I don't know where it's from. Hey, George, I recently removed CO2 from my 10-gallon scape from lower plant growth. All plants are doing fine except Rotala indica. Leaves are thinning and falling out rapidly. Please help. If you recently removed the CO2, this will be the problem, because the plant actually adapts quite significantly. It physiologically adapts to take in more CO2. It almost confuses it into thinking it might be growing out of water a little bit. So actually, the actual tissue, the actual physical makeup of the plant changes when it adapts to taking in CO2, and then it has to go adapt again when it's not taking the extra CO2 in. So what it will be is just this particular species is sensitive to this transitional period. So what you could do is you could potentially cut it right back, rather than, because what's happening is the majority of the plant is really struggling and it's using so much energy and to try to convert itself into not using extra CO2. So what you could actually try to do, if you've got good enough lighting, is trim the stem quite far down, and then hopefully the new growth will be adapted to this non-CO2 injected conditions. That would be my tip for you. Thanks for the super chat, really appreciate it, GG Jackson. Oh, it's Indian rupee, thank you. Got another one, 40, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Toby Create's got to go, guys. I have a video to post. Toby Create sounds like he's got a YouTube channel. George J. Luby, what is the name of the red stem plant in the 1200? This beautiful plant here is Limnophila hyperoides. I love it. It's actually easy category, so anyone can grow it in almost any aquarium. It just happens to look amazing in this one because it's got loads of light and CO2. Got another super chat, $5 from Thin May. Can Bulbitis mini be used to achieve busy growth like your Trident? What other plant would you recommend for that effect? I'm not sure what you mean, which Bulbitis you mean. Bulbitis mini, is it like a mini variety of Deformis? Or not Deformis, the Hoodalorti? Or is it Deformis? Deformis is actually a smaller species, but I find it really struggles in underwater conditions. I find it's much better growing out of water. Apparently there is a mini version of Bulbitis Hoodalorti, and this will eventually, you can get it to grow quite nice like this. In fact, the regular Bulbitis can grow like this with good light and good CO2. But that is the key, is getting decent lighting, decent CO2, decent circulation, decent fertilizers, good water changes. And this is the key to success with many aquarium plants, and getting the best out of them. Follow those things: good light, good CO2, good nutrients, good maintenance. That's pretty much it in a nutshell for any plant that you're struggling with. Thank you so much for the super chat. Josh ATX is dropping the super chats. Very generous of you, Josh. Thank you so much. Have you tried a DIY CO2 system, citric acid and baking soda? If so, how does it compare to bottled pressurized CO2 growth wise? It's no real comparison. You'll get better growth, but it won't be anywhere near as good as pressurized CO2. It's not as controllable. It's not as stable. Plants really like a stable CO2 level, so whilst you may get improved results, in my opinion, it's much better to invest in a pressurized system if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, then just save up. There are some cheaper options out there. You can even DIY a pressurized CO2 kit if you look hard enough on YouTube or Google some articles. I would do so at your own risk, because when you're dealing with pressurized CO2, it is a very, you're dealing with high pressure, potentially dangerous gas. So, really be careful. But my advice is to save up for a pressurized system. In the meantime, you could try the DIY CO2 method and see how you go. But whilst you're doing that, try to save up for the pressurized. And you will get so much better results, that's absolutely guaranteed. Vivek K, ADA Solar RGB or Chihiros Vivid 2, which light is good? I've only ever seen the Solar RGB. I've not actually seen the Chihiros in the flesh, so I can't really comment on that one. I've got another super chat. Thank you so much for the super chats. Really appreciate it. There's 300 of you watching right now. That's crazy considering the live stream went completely wrong to start with. So appreciate you watching, guys. Thank you. If you are enjoying it, hit the like button. That'd be really grateful. If you think you're getting value out of this content, then if you don't want to leave a super chat to support me, then at least give me a thumbs up, because what that does, it just triggers the YouTube algorithm. It makes people more likely going to watch this stream after the event, and then more people can be educated about the beautiful world of aquascaping. So consider hitting that like button. Thank you. Noob Dude Scaper, that's such a cool name, and I've seen you before in my chat, so thank you. Hey George, have you ever tried a leaner dose with smaller water changes? Yes, and I get algae. So I tend to just stick to the overdosing and big water changes. You can get away with leaner dosing and less water changes. A lot of it's to do with the lighting, a lot of it's to do with like your substrate system. So if you don't run so much light, then you can get away with the plants aren't growing so much, so they're not producing so much organic waste, so you don't need to change the water so much. If you've got a really rich nutrient substrate, then you can get away with leaner dosing because the plants can take in the nutrients from their substrate. So yeah, that's that covered. Thank you so much for the generous super chat, really appreciate it. Carl Spigby, citric acid DIY is pressurized. Sorry, I meant a pressurized cylinder. You know, like a fire extinguisher, or you can buy they're at 800 psi or about 60 bar pressure. You don't get that kind of pressure from the citric acid, and then you need to bring that pressure down with a pressurized CO2 with a regulator, and it's a different system. I apologise for the confusion. Carlos Saleco, thanks George for making our lives a little bit easier with your videos. It's not easy being at home 24/7 with not much to relax. You are the best. Thank you so much, Carlos. That's really great to hear. Yeah, I'm just doing what I love, aquascaping, and sharing that love with everyone. And the fact that everyone's at home more to enjoy, well, they can watch more content on YouTube, but they can also hopefully enjoy your own aquascapes as well. And hopefully the knowledge that you might be learning from this live stream can help you with your own aquascape. So that's what this is all about, really. Just trying to make the world a little bit better. Planted element, does my gourami have a name? No, there's a male and female in there. I haven't named them. The only real fish I named was, well, I named a couple. I named Nimrod, my better fish, who sadly passed away. In fact, I'm going to do an update on my Fluval Flex later this week. So make sure you check that out. If you've not seen the Fluval Flex tutorial, in fact, if you have seen it, let me know what you think in the comments, because I made it really beginner friendly, and I wanted people at home that were just getting into aquascaping to not be worried about spending too much money. Pressurized CO2, loads of fertilizers, an expensive lighting system, external filter. These things are really quite expensive, and I wanted to show people to aquascape. You don't need CO2 injection. You don't need high lighting. You can use easy plants, and that's why I made that video. And I really enjoyed it, actually. I love creating a simple aquascape. Tommy's barking. Tommy. So I'm digressing. Do I name my fish? So I named Nimrod. He was in the Flex. That's why I started talking about the Flex. He sadly passed away. What fish shall I get for my Flex? I don't know what to get. Should I get a better? I did think I really like the dwarf pufferfish, but I think they're a bit too sort of specialised for a Fluval Flex. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. I might just get some neon. I love neon tetras. They're probably my favourite fish of all time, neon tetras. They're the first fish I ever really remember as a child. I think I was about 4 years old, and we had them in my school in the reception. And I just remember this brilliant blue on them, and the red and the silver, and I just thought those are amazing. Yeah, so I'm going off on one. Apologies. Garden Tetras, yeah. Everyone wants to see Tommy. Tommy. Have you ever cut Tommy's hair yourself? Just cut my Schnauzer's hair because the groomers are closed. It went okay. We've luckily, oh, here he is. He's a good boy. Come on in. Here, what's this? Here. Everyone wants to see you. Here. Here. Come on in. Come on. Come on then. He's been shy. What's this? Come on. Come on, we'll lose the viewers. People won't think you actually exist. Sorry, guys. Please suggest light, say flowering, and then or how cute. Any tips from rescaping? Any tips for rescaping? I think this is a great topic. Come on then. You're not going to come up and see Daddy? Come on there, good boy. Come here. There we go. Say hello to everyone. There we go. You see the camera? Look, over there. Yeah. There's your ball. So rescaping, I think this is a great idea because a lot of people are at home, more time to enjoy their aquariums, more time to rescape them. So you could actually, you don't have to spend any money. You can take all your plants out, all your hardscape out, and rearrange them. So my tips to do this, if you wanted to do a really kind of hard reset on your tank, go on then. Boy. So let's say I wanted to rescape this. Let's talk you through the process. So I want everyone that's watching right now, I want those that are going to commit to doing this. I want to see some rescapes. So in the live chat, let me know I'm going to rescape my tank. And then, I don't know, share it on Instagram or leave your Instagram handle in the chat, and then hopefully some people can engage and we can see the results of your rescape. So let's encourage rescaping. Let's just throw this ball for Tommy quickly. There you go, mate. So, first of all, you want to take out as much of the plants as you can. Do it carefully. Don't uproot them really quickly because you'll just create devastation. So, for instance, the crypts, you could just get your hand right down to the base, pull them out really slowly. Go on then. And then put them in a bucket, a large bucket or a separate aquarium if you can, and keep them wet. Stop them from drying out. Repeat that process. Take all the plants out as slowly and as carefully as you can without destroying the roots or the leaves. So keep them intact as much as you can. Put them in a separate container, separate bucket or an aquarium, ideally with a filter or some sort of circulation. Ideally with a light if you can, ideally with CO2, you know, basically like a quarantine tank. Then you'll be able to then take your hardscape out, keep that wet as well, don't let it dry out, so otherwise the wood will float, rocks can dry out, no problem. If it's got epiphyte plants, obviously don't let them dry out either. Once you've got your hardscape and your plants out, you're just left with your substrate and your fish. What I do is drain my water down just so it's a few inches above the substrate, and then carefully net all my fish out. The reason I drain it right down is just to make the process much easier. Good boy. So now you've got all your fish. Ideally, put the fish in the tank, in the container or the tank with the plants. So those plants are going to help keep those fish feeling safe and secure. That hopefully the container or the tank has got a heater, a filter and a light, and maybe some CO2 as well to keep everything nice and healthy. Then you've just got your substrate in there. Now this is a good opportunity to freshen up your substrate. So it will have a load of collected organic waste. This can lead to lots of oxygen depletion. There'll be loads and loads of bacteria. It could be almost too much bacteria in there if it's a really old system. This consumes loads of oxygen, and you don't want too much bacteria consuming oxygen because it makes the whole kind of system a little bit unbalanced. So it's a good opportunity to give your substrate a bit of a clean. You don't want to clean it 100% because you still need some of that bacteria in there, but you don't want to get rid of too much of it. So do what I do is just wave my hand just above it. Maybe you can just touch that top layer, lift up a load of this rubbish, this organics. You could actually fill the aquarium up with more water. Do that, and then you're going to have more opportunity to take more water out, which is going to get rid of all of this waste. So you've refreshed your substrate, you've got all your plants and your hardscape separate. If you've got the budget to, maybe think about putting a top layer of a new substrate in there, ideally a soil. Could be like a tropical aquarium soil or tropical aquarium soil powder. But ideally something with more nutrients in. You could maybe use root capsules, put them in the substrate where you're going to plant. This is just going to add a bit more nutrients. This is going to help the plants grow better once you get them back in there. Now it's time, take as much of the water out as you can, just so you've got the wet substrate in the bottom. Then you've got your hardscape. Put your hardscape in. Maybe buy some new hardscape if you can afford it. Have a really good play around. Make that hardscape look as good as you can. Take your time doing it. You know, the fish and the plants are fine in their separate system for now, so just take your time on the hardscaping process. Maybe take some pictures, have another play, take some pictures, and then you can refer back to, you know, which layout I prefer the most. And just keep repeating this process until you've really nailed down the hardscape. So, you know, I always talk about this, but the hardscape is so important. If you start off with a really strong hardscape, much easier to create a strong aquascape. So you've got your hardscape in there, now it's time to replant. So take each plant out at a time. Do this really kind of purposefully. Take your time, go into like a meditative state or a flow state, have some like relaxing music on. Hello mate, you coming up? Good boy. Have some relaxing music on, maybe treat yourself to a glass of wine or a cup of tea or something. And go through each plant one at a time and just give it a good inspection. Take off any unhealthy leaves, trim the leaves, trim the roots back with some sharp scissors. Hello. Yeah, good boy, aren't you? Yes, you are. And then replant. And then think about your planting plan. So you're rescaping, so you might want to change the layout a bit. What are you after? Hey? You want some attention? Is it because Daddy's talking to a black box and you don't know what's going on? Hey? So go through all your plants. I like to separate mine into foreground, mid-ground, and then background. I like to plant my foreground first, then my mid-ground, then my background, and then finally my epiphyte plants. The epiphyte plants, for those that don't know, these are plants that attach to your decor. And if you don't have any yet, then this is something else you may want to consider investing in, because epiphyte plants can really add a sense of impact, a sense of maturity to the aquascape, especially if you've got a good hardscape. So, you know, if there's two things that I would, or three things that I definitely recommend getting extra of, if you can afford it, is maybe upgrade your substrate system, definitely give it a clean if you can, upgrade your hardscape, and then upgrade your plants by getting some epiphyte plants. And this will completely transform your aquarium in terms of the aesthetics and also the health of the system as well, especially if you get new plants. So there we go. There was a quick sort of 5-minute rundown on how to rescape. Can you go and see Mummy now? Yeah, go and see Mummy. Go on, good boy. Okay, so I'm gonna dive off in a minute because the Queen is going to give a talk on that horrible thing that's going on around the world at the moment. So I'm going to say cheerio. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna spend another few minutes because my wife's put it on pause. So that's got the beauty of Sky TV. Ben Power, I need to give a shout out to Ben Power. For those that watch my videos, you know that really cool animated introduction sequence with the waving plants and the fish that swim across and then the GFS logo? That is all down to Ben Power. So shout out to Ben, hope you're doing well, mate. Rescaping our 30 cube garden this week, going for Iwagumi, wanted to reuse the Amazonia, okay to use it? Yes, absolutely. absolutely reuse it. You could use root tabs, but Amazonia is so rich in nutrients anyway, you should be okay. He's after the bulletproof hot chocolate.
Okay,
Go see mummy. Go on. Cheeky. No, mummy. Go see mummy. Yeah, a lot of people are dipping off to watch the Queen. I know what's more important. No problem. The fishing mailman, are you ever going to go on a plant expedition with Stefan Hummel? Absolutely, would love to do that. I have spent quite a lot of time with Stefan over the years, and it's something that we're definitely interested in doing. It's just budgets really, because we'd have to get a company to pay for it, and it's, you know, where it's all marketing, so it's all down to budgets. So hopefully at some point, yes, I would love to do that. And with Chris Lukalp as well. Some of you may have seen my little vlog with Chris in Florida, in the Florida Springs. That was one of the best experiences so far of my career. Actually, it was amazing. This is a good question. I've got another one that's just sprung to my mind. Shrimperlinks, are you keto? Yeah, I have a low carbohydrate diet now. I was strictly keto and now I'm a bit more flexible. James, do you use the Nature Aquarium Complete Works 1985 to 2009? What, you mean this book here? Yes, I do. And this was actually a gift. This is a gift from my good friend John Starkey, who's a professional photographer. Really, really great guy. Fun story. He gave me this in 2011. That's, what, 9 years ago now. Fun story. He was aquarium hobbyist, enthusiast, aquascaping guy, and he got a little bit into photography, and I gave him some tips on how to use his SLR camera. I still am into photography. Anyway, now he's like a landscape photography master. He's far better than I am. So it's really great to see someone that I gave tips to has now moved on to much greater things. But anyway, I'm digressing. That book is amazing. Recommend it to anyone. Absolutely nothing wrong with copying another scape either. I do it sometimes. I mean, I use Amano's work. Still, this is influenced by Amano hugely. But there's nothing wrong with directly copying an aquascape. You know, you're gonna get the right plant choice. You know, you're gonna like it because you're obviously gonna copy something that you like straight away. So that's a real good thing. You hopefully get good plant choice, good composition, and then the biggest thing there, it takes away the problem almost of choosing, of all those choices that you have to make with the plant choice, the composition, the hardscape material. As long as you've got the right conditions to grow the plants, then you're guaranteed success and the right maintenance. So absolutely copy another person's aquascape. The tips would be to just ensure that you've got the systems tailored to what you're copying. So, if you're copying a high-end aquascape with demanding plants, then you're going to need the appropriate equipment to grow those plants. So if you can, copy the actual system in terms of the lighting, nutrition, CO2, circulation, maintenance, etc. Yeah, the Queen's on YouTube live as well now, so it's a bit of a competition there. This is a good question. Felix Ferdinand, why don't you build a diorama style aquascape? It's a really good question. It's not really my taste. That's why. No other reason really. It's like saying to a chef, like a pastry chef, why don't you cook soup? It's just not there. It's not my style. Or a landscape photographer. Why don't you photograph close-ups of insects? It's just a different taste, a different genre. It just something that I'm not passionate about. I will do it one day just to stretch myself creatively, just to show that I can do it, and you know, some other people might enjoy it. I did actually do a bonsai tree aquascape years ago for Practical Fish Keeping magazine. I think I only kept it running for about 8 weeks. But yeah, just something that I'm just really, I mean, my style of aquascaping is what I love. And I think that one of the good things about my style is actually very accessible and transferable to other people with less experience. So, you know, all the plants in here are easy plants. All the hardscape isn't complex. Everything that you can see here can be easily repeated. And that's the sort of message on my channel, is to inspire and educate people into making their aquascaping journey a bit easier, a bit more accessible, and not too complex. I think the diorama styles are very complex. They're very beautiful. There's so much attention to detail. The hardscapes take months to create, a lot of them. And they do look beautiful, but they don't, I've got to say, they don't connect to me with nature as much as a simple nature aquarium like this. And I don't know why. It's just the way it is. So that's, hopefully that answers your question. Carl Jones, hi George, I'd find it useful if you could demonstrate the difference between nature, diorama, bio, etc, etc. Well, luckily for you, Carl Jones, I have a book that's going to be released soon. So there we go. Sam Childs, do I rate King of DIY? Joey and I would say we are friends. Joey stayed at my house. I've hosted him in the UK before, and yeah, I have to admit, I don't watch his content so much. I don't actually watch that much aquarium YouTube content anymore. It's an interesting topic, actually. You know, I guess most of you watching this watch numerous aquarium YouTube channels. I'm obviously aware of them, but I just like to focus on my own journey, my own path, and I think that just makes me a bit more authentic. If you start watching loads of other people's stuff, then even subconsciously, even without realizing it, you'll be picking up tips. You'll end up sort of subconsciously copying things, maybe. So I do watch a lot of YouTube. I probably watch more YouTube than other TV. Although I don't watch. I tend to listen to audiobooks and podcasts. That's my main, and music. That's my main kind of thing. But the YouTube stuff that I watch is health and well-being. I quite like self-improvement, not mainstream current affairs, but like I love TED Talks. I just love to learn new stuff, not necessarily on aquariums, because I do learn stuff all the time on aquariums, but I have a real thirst for knowledge in general. Yeah, I'm digressing. But King of DIY, Joey, we're friends, but that's how I rate him. He's a friend. Yeah. Serpa design is epic, absolutely. Yeah. Shrimperlinks, Diet Doctor, Keto, Bread, check it out. Joey's a fish keeper, not an aquascaper. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, anyone that's got any health and fitness channels they want to link to, let me know. Let us know what other stuff you're into. I mean, we're not all just into aquascaping, are we? You know, I think for me, aquascaping is part of health and wellness for me. You know, I suffer from, anxiety quite a lot. I'm managing it really well. I did have depression, and aquascaping absolutely helped out massively with that. And actually, aquascaping for my own hobby helped. But do you know what? One of the most therapeutic things is knowing that it's helping other people, because it takes you out of your own problems, and it just puts you in a different space, and a more positive space. And knowing that I have a positive impact, hopefully, on other people with aquascaping, for me that's fantastic. It really is. I love it. I love knowing that aquascaping is helping people. And especially right now, you know, there's a lot of people are suffering with loneliness, anxiety, depression, and you know, if you can connect with your aquascapes a bit more, and I'd encourage you to reach out, you know, even if it's just online to friends, communities like this, you know, Instagram. I did loads of live streams with the Tropica Aquarium Plants channel with Yuri's, and it's had this real sort of tight knit feeling, community feeling, which is fantastic. Considering we're all like locked down, you can still get this community vibe using technology, which is fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I'm so grateful for technology, even though the stream went massively wrong. Anyway, I'm not going to go on about that again. What music do I like? I love like liquid drum and bass. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that genre. I was like a bit of a raver back in the day, in sort of the early 90s, mid 90s. I used to go to all night raves in London, and had a bit of a colourful history. I was a bit of a party animal, shall we say? Used to stay awake for like the whole weekend, going crazy. And yeah, now I listen to sort of chilled out beats. I don't often listen to much lyrical music still. I like sort of lo-fi, sort of just, yeah. Alexa's just kicked off. Alexa, stop. Yeah. So yeah, no, I like a lot of chill out stuff. But the most stuff I listen to now is just audiobooks and podcasts. I recently got an app called Headway, which some of you may have heard of it. It summarises all of the best non-fiction books that have ever been written into 15 minutes. So you get the main kind of takeaways, the headliners, these like really epically long books with loads of good information in I listen to them in an audio book so I listen to like 2 or 3 audiobooks at a time when I'm walking Tommy, which is really great. It just keeps your brain going, you know. Your brain's like a muscle, it needs to be exercised. And the more you exercise it, the fitter it is. And I just like to be cognitively, firing on all cylinders. So, and that's where the nutrition comes in as well. Having good nutrition, avoid sugar at all costs. I don't eat any. Try to avoid gluten and wheat and dairy. I'm not allergic to them, but they're just not good for me. Been drinking a little bit more lately with the lockdown in the evenings. My wife and I tend to have a glass of wine most evenings, but we don't drink heavily. But yeah, going back to what music do I like? Yeah, just chilled out beats basically. Yeah. Flippy jeans, yeah. Corridors Aquatics in the house. How you doing, mate? Seago Ross, absolutely, yes. They did Seago Ross did the theme tune to Planet Earth, BBC nature documentary back in the day. Yeah, amazing. I love Seago Ross. LTJ Bookham, oh my God. It used to be my favourite. Bookham, all that, the good looking records, absolutely. God, I love that stuff. Yeah, lo-fi hip hop. Yeah, record bags. Yeah, yeah, Avicii. Yeah, I can't believe he died. I think it was alcohol. Did he have alcoholism? That's so sad. Okay, yeah, we're going off topic. Are you still thinking about buying a reef tank? No, I can't. I'm running. I've got 5 freshwater aquariums, so there's no room for a reef tank. I was going to go into a collaboration with Aquarium Connections, who do the Triton systems, but I put on hold. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. Maybe later this year or next year. I do want to go into the reef hobby. I think there's so much to learn, and like I said earlier, I'm a bit of a sponge. I love to learn new stuff. So the reef hobby is something I'm considering. I'm aware it's you know, another hobby to get into. Effectively, it's aquariums, but completely different style. Okay, I'm going to take the last couple of questions. I'm going to say cheerio. Ginger Graves is here. Hi, Gigi. Josh ATX, why are the guys at Green Aqua so unapologetically goofy? I wish you could collab with them more. It's just their style. The Green Aqua guys are amazing. They're really great sense of humours. Not everyone gets it, or it might be a little bit culturally different to some kind of cultures, but they're great guys, and obviously their production and their aquascaping and their showroom is second to none, world class, absolutely. Okay, last question, and then I'm gonna go say cheerio. Okay, I'm going to end on this one because it's quite a pertinent point. Crowders Aquatics, tough times at the moment, and it's only going to get harder. So, shout out to Crowders Aquatics to start with. Any business, any retailer, any aquatic retailer now is struggling because of what's going on around the world. So, if you can afford it, I would encourage you to buy stuff, improve your aquascapes, improve your aquariums. Even if you don't want to do anything right now to your tank, buy something for the future. You know, you'll be rescaping at some point. You'll need some soil. You'll need some hardscape. You know, buy a gift card. Buy a gift card for a friend. It might be a friend's birthday coming up. You know, just do something to support the aquarium industry, because these guys are struggling. All industries are suffering, but I've got a vested interest, obviously, in the aquarium industry. And you know, aquariums are particularly important right now with being at home more. So double bonus. You know, you get something beautiful for your tank, improve your own aquascape, improve your own mental health, and then help these businesses out. So that's my final point, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, look after yourselves, look after each other. Stick to your government guidelines. Don't go out of your house unless you need to. You're a key worker, etc. Enjoy your aquascapes. You take care, keep on scaping. Cheerio. I'll see you on the next video.